All right. We're going to do some Spelljammer art this morning, folks. Give me a second here to check my signal. I'll go through my intro spiel, and then we'll get to work here in about a minute. So let's see if my signal is coming through A-OK. Mike. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. All right. So let's go ahead and let's see here. Beep, 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 boop, boop, boop. Okay, cool. Intro spiel. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements I publish online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons over the past few years, and there's a slew of links in the description down below to take you to some of the work that I've created on DMsGuild. There's a lot of preview that's available in those books. If you're a D&D enthusiast, I strongly encourage you to check that stuff out, see if there's anything that you think is cool. If you're just an art enthusiast and you're here for the pixels, there's probably about 150 illustrations across the books that are linked down below. So if you want to see more of the work that I've produced in books in the past, then go ahead and just check out the previews and peel through them and see if they're cool. If you're not a 5e sort of person, then the mechanics might not make sense, but at least the pictures are pretty. So let's see. I've just posted that I am live on Twitter. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am at Phil Kearney. There's one of the illustrations that we had recently created of a dragon. The bubbles touching causes a hole between the two of them as they merge. And so this dragon is adjacent to this bombard ship and is catching it on fire with some meaty fire breath. Catching fire is a thing. It's something you have to deal with, and we have mechanics for it, so that's fun. But otherwise, like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, and we'll keep getting after this. So I created this book cover back at episode 15 or so, and we're currently up to episode 187 of the stream. Holy Hannah. And we picked up some new followers, so again, more appreciation, folks. We got more people coming in every day, checking out what we're doing. What are we doing? We create the books. We type, like on Tuesday afternoon at lunch, we create the role-playing text. That's the mechanics of it. Once the text is done, we send it off to an editor. When it comes back from the editor, we do page layout so all the text can fit pretty on the page. Like in this instance, we have the table over here that we built for whether the type of ship is able to land on solid or liquid terrain and what kind of movement speeds it has if it does, which we then provide explanations and a corresponding paragraphs to the left. This is all page layout, making sure the font is good, that it's visible, that the information breaks down well, that nothing's too crowded, and that it stays between the lines. So, and then when we take, and then when that's finished, then we have the holes that are open at the bottom of the page or wherever it is on the page. We fill it in with artwork, and that's what we're doing right now. We're filling in the artwork. I've been a freelance artist in the RPG industry for, well, off and on casually for a couple decades now. It's always just been a little hobby of mine, but I liked how I got paid doing it because there's always third-party content producers that were looking for decent artwork that needs to be specialized depending on what it is that they're trying to do. And it was always a really big thrill for me to be able to provide the solutions, to provide the the results that they need for the artwork that they did. Like I did this really cool book on an Eskimo sort of horror RPG game where I got to do a bunch of snow monsters and Inuits running around trying to fight monsters in the snow. That was a really fun project to do. But as time went on and globalization continued to occur with people being able to do easy file transfers across the internet, I was competing with people that had a fifth or even a tenth of the monthly income that I do here in Seattle. So it got to a point where it was just more practical for for independents to go to artists that didn't have so much overhead, so that they could provide lower rates. I totally get that, but that also meant that I could no longer reliably work in the RPG industry as an artist that way. So I started creating my own books so that I could be my own art director, create the art that I want to create with the projects that I want to create, and pay myself as my own artist. So that's where we are now. I create books, I publish them online. The money that I make off of the books is effectively the money that I make off of the artwork. So that's been a real joy. And right now I'm trying to ramp up some momentum so that I can start successfully creating Kickstarter projects. so I can get paid in advance, so that I can devote more time and the effort instead of investing all my time and then trying to sell it. I like that Kickstarter route idea of being able to sell it, and then once people buy in on it, then invest all the time. I don't know. We'll see how things work out. But that's what we do. We create the game, we build the art, and then we publish it. So the books that are described down below are great examples of that process. And there's some really kick-ass artwork in there too. So check it out. But in this page in particular, we try to make the text, the images that we do, be relevant to the text that they are adjacent to or on the same page of. So we're talking about ships being able to traverse the sea and the land as well as the sky. So that's what we're depicting here. These are cuttlefish, which are small. And we talked about this yesterday and on Tuesday about the scaling of these things. 5-foot squares is a 20-foot ship. These are 50-foot squares for larger scale ship combat. And you can see how tiny the cuttlefish is in comparison to the size of this nautiloid. Hence, we have the boarding or the landing of the. Anyway, it's like it's storming the beach. You know, that's what we're portraying here. Words, Kearney. Sometimes they's elusive. There we go. So I'm doing this piece here online with you guys, so you can watch the process, see what I'm doing. And honestly, this one's just a lot of fun to do. But there's a lot of pieces that I don't do online. The ship fire image that I showed here at the beginning of the stream that I posted on Twitter last night. Hey, if you want to see that picture up close, follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. Check it out. But that's a notable example of I don't. You know, I do a lot of other work other than what I just do on stream here. Because there's a lot. There's like 90 illustrations we need for this book. Well, including like diagrams and map images. So like not true illustrations. Like this is a true illustration. A diagram or a map might only take an hour or two for me to produce. And if I got like 25 of them to do, that means I only really have 65 images to do, and we're done with like maybe 17 of them. So we have about maybe 48 pictures to go. We'll get it done. We're getting there. And once we do, we'll publish it on the DMsGuild. And if you want to see how that looks, again, check the links on the description down below. You can see how generous the previews are, so that people can actually use the mechanics of this and decide if it's something I'm going to purchase, so they know what it is that they're getting. But we're here 6 days a week. I do this Monday through Friday, creating the Spelljammer art here in the morning. On Tuesdays, like I was talking at the intro, we do mechanical development. I've been creating it's probably going to be about a 50-page supplement called Martial Powers, which creates an alternate spellcasting magic system for sword and board type characters, marshals, in the 5th edition version of Dungeons and Dragons. And so that's on Tuesday, and then Mondays and Thursday nights, including tonight, we do Eberron artwork, which is more art, just a different theme. So it's an adventure that we're creating for the Eberron setting, and there's 6 distinct hooks, and each hook has a patron or a handler that's associated with that hook that your character is interacting with. So right now we're doing the character art for who those contacts are, and then probably next week we'll get back to we have a farmhouse that we need to make a floor plan for, and then we'll start doing vignettes like little forests, or there's a dilapidated gazebo that we need to make a map for. It's the setting piece for an undead fight. We also have a bunch of undead that we need to make the tokens for, and other types of creatures that are included in the adventure, as well as like assets, like little knickknacks, like a campfire, like a little token for a campfire, token for a tent, you know. Pile of supplies. It's crates, you know, like shipping crates, stuff like that. There's a lot of little physical assets that we need to make that get scattered throughout the maps on the adventure that the DM can use to, you know, populate the map with and push around let the characters pick up and move around if they want to. Boy, I bet AI has really revolutionized the digital slot machine art production workflow, because there used to be decent money out there for freelancers to, like, you know, draw 15 versions of the same pair of cherries or like a piece of fruit, you know, that show up in a slot machine when you put your digital credit in and spin the wheel to see if you win more credits. That is some serious AI targeted sort of production, because that stuff that was really, like, through probably, I want to say, until at least 3 years ago, that was pretty reliable work as far as like asset production as a game company art asset producer, creating, you know, like BAR, the little visual assets for that stuff. That was all being done by hand. But I suspect AI has plenty of reference images for peaches and oranges and cherries online that it can produce its own assets now. But online gambling is a massive source of innovation, because there's a lot of money there with motivation to minimize the profits. And some could say that AI is a humanitarian effort, that the more AI you use, the less sweatshops are necessary. And I will argue that those people are going to sweat no matter what. It's just a matter of what are they pushing? Is it pixels or is it coal? But hey, I ain't here to politic at you. I spent some time yesterday doing research on mecha, books that have mecha. Lancer for one, Starfinder's mecha expansion for another. I'm already intimately familiar with Robotech and Palladium's Rifts in general, Battletech, and there is a severe lack of mechanical language involving scale of movement, which is something that this book is really all about. There is such fluid movement that Wizards of the Coast introduces for ships flying, that they're essentially just giant hovering creatures. And so there's a lot of really fun maneuvering and what's the word I'm looking for? Positioning options, and the ships are a lot more maneuverable than a boat on water. So there's a ton of tactical fun stuff you can do. There's also a very great limitation on weaponry, that you can't fire on. You can't reasonably shoot at something with a bow a mile away, especially if they're looking at you. I think I'm getting stuck in some did I start my clock? Because I feel like I'm getting trapped up in details that don't matter. I don't think I started my clock. I didn't start my clock, guys. All right, starting the clock. 20 minutes. We got about 90 minutes left this morning, so I'm going to take another sip of some quality Kona coffee, sponsor. Oh man, Kona is really good. And then we chase it down with 2 sips of water. Every cup of coffee needs 2 cups of water, otherwise you risk dehydration. Let's do, is that good? I know vector art is potentially better, is a better tool to use. I don't want to. There we go. The other thing, the other day of the week that I'm streaming is on Saturday, and Saturday we do commissions, and I'm about to have another commission fire up. I think I'm going to be doing some equipment illustrations. I'm not sure exactly what the project is yet. I'm waiting for details from the sponsor. But we just finished the Reclamant book cover using Bob Ross style of digital painting, and so this upcoming Saturday in the morning, I will be developing. I'll just basically be doing a tutorial session, like walking through how I create brushes and the techniques that I use, like to create mountains, trees, water, clouds, all the Bob Ross favorites that you may know and love that we can produce using, you know, variant brushes. Like, if you aren't familiar, like you can take a brush like this, and I need to be able to, oh boy, this is a tangent that's going to end up costing me. Let's go with shape dynamic and then turn on the projector. I wanted to make a tree. I can take this brush take the brush and just dump it down the page. I think this is only like a minute. This is basically, you know, how Bob builds trees. No, happy little tree. Boop. That's something like, that's like the super bare minimum. There's more to it than that. But for, like, you know, a 30-second demo, that's how you make trees. So you have to figure out how you want to make your brush, and then how you can pattern that brush so that it can replicate the type of the end result that you want when you compile it into the image like that. Anyway, that's what we're doing on Saturday. We're gonna build brushes like that and demonstrate like how to do water and like how to do rock and how to do fluffy mountain, fluffy clouds. We did fluffy clouds and water yesterday here on stream, so you can see some of that just using a generic brush. So on Tuesday we'll get into more specifics, and I'm just about ready to peel out all my my Ross brushes and put them up on my Patreon for people just to grab. I have a Patreon. It's at Phil Kearney. You can see that in the description also. If you want to support the stream, you can throw me a monthly tip for $1 if you want. And again, we'll get the Bob Ross brushes up there. Almost decent. There we go. I spy with my eye something that is text. Who are you? Hey, Ornetico, what's going on, my guy? How you doing, dude? How's your dungeon coming along? More text has appeared. Right on, man. Dungeons are... Well, I mean, anyone that's stuck around my channel for a while knows dungeons are no small feat. I think we've literally spent about 200 hours on the Eberron stream making maps over the past year. It's been a little insane. I figured out how you want the higher concepts to work, what major enemies, and how the various factions... Oh, that's important. Once you get the gist of it, everything else just starts to sort of filter into place. It's really just a matter of how much time are you willing to invest to think through all of the logistics and conflicts and relationships that are in the space. Time is always against us. I had to rebuild that third act dungeon for the Eberron adventure like 3 times. So it's the one that's currently up is the 4th iteration of that final map. So it's like you can have an idea, but then you have to keep working it and working. I mean, maybe you're just more talented than I am, and you can one and done it. But I guess I'm just saying it's the struggle is what makes it worth it. Lean into the struggle. Oof, my belly's talking. Not bad. Well, God's willing that you're going to be really happy with it when you're done. I gotta say, Nautiloid are pretty complicated. I mean, they're simple, but it's the elegance of the curves and the proportions of everything. It makes it a fun little architectural challenge to be able to get the perspective right on these things. This needs to drop just a touch. Just a bit outside. Better. No. I used to be so intimidated by the architecture of these ships. This feels like a shoe. It's like a shoe and a shoe and a shoe. A shoe. The loafer ship. Yeah, when I think about Illithid, I think about loafers. So, I've been working on Game Master prep for the Lancer game. Yes. I'm starting to think more and more about Lancer myself. We finally got things off the ground and moving well on that end, and my players are really liking it. Excellent! How are you handling out of ship? Like, is it mostly social interaction outside of the ships, or are you supplementing that with on-foot adventuring? Clean up, Kearney. Clean up. Let me get rid of that. I don't like that piping. So far, no complaint here. It's gonna be tentacle time here in a moment. Yes, it's tentacle time. Oh, I'm gonna take a quick sip here. Are capable of running when not in combat. Yeah, absolutely. But on foot adventuring sounds like a great way to. It helps that you can make custom skills and like in Lancer, so many players have started making weird stuff for their pots out of mech. Neat! Bruh. I'm going to, I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time with that system. Let's scoot that back a touch. Yeah, tentacle time. Let's drop the opacity on that line art a touch. This is probably a reading size here. If I get the ref out of the way. I think most people kicking through the PDF probably don't need to zoom in more than this. And at this scale, the line art we have here for Nautiloid is plenty sufficient. The difficulty is that they can zoom in as much as they want. So if it still looks decent at 100% scale, then I'm pretty happy overall. This guy is a sloppy mess, and this one's also a sloppy mess. So once I finish the tentacles back here, we'll be able to transition into the foreground. Skill Unmask, which is basically a psionic zone of truth that reveals. That's super fun. Are they just designing like a person size mechanical options off of the rule set that I mean, I know there's a lot of versatility that you can do with ships, but I don't know enough about the system yet to know what characters can just do. Let's go with 2 pixels here. 2 pixels, too aggressive. 1 pixel here. Come on, Kearney. I already took my cup of coffee. Thank you. I'll take another sip, though. I feel like the energy needs it. Bring the energy. Let's have 2 sips of water after 1 cup. 1 part coffee, 2 part water. I love that idea. Very plot destructive to plot armor for NPCs, though. But if you're doing an episodic, like villain of the week throwaway sort of thing, then them being able to reveal their secrets just leads to the next episode, right? In a spiraling cascade of enemies to chase down and make them tell the truth. I like it, though. Truth as a theme is super cool. I don't think I'm going to put a lot of detail in these tentacles at all. I think it's just going to be basically just line art for these things and fill them with solid color, a little bit of lighting. Well, I guess I'm painting them then. Never mind. Feel like this guy needs to be more like that. Yeah, the horizon line is literally right here. So these things are above the horizon line. So I need to be a little more aware of the angles of the ship and its interior to make sure everything curves properly. Pilots said they've been using builds on skills and person-sized equipment. Oh, okay, got it. Just as various things, and players have been making mechanics for them to use separate from mechs. Nice. The interesting part is that there is some overlap because you can use pilot skills and abilities in mech combat under the right contexts. One player of mine used Threaten, the skill Threaten, to force enemies to surrender once. Hey, that's fantastic. Nice use. That's really cool. Still a little sloppy, but I only need to focus on the silhouette of these. I don't need to make the line art perfect. It's just going to get colored in. One tentacle. Plays Cyclone Pulse Rifle to one-shot the commander of the enemy force in a single shot. The second attack of the session, in fact, right on, and use broadcast as demands overcome. That reminds me of the Fifth Element during the hostage the negotiation scene on the deck of the cruise ship. Assuming that you've seen Fifth Element. Anyone out there that hasn't seen Fifth Element yet, it came out like in '95. It's super worth your time. It's a great Bruce Willis action sci-fi movie. Super great. Mila Jovovich in her prime. Super great film. There we go. Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. It's like a 90-minute romp. Go see it this weekend. Totally worth your time. It's I would put the level like the shenanigan levels of that movie are probably on par with Big Trouble Little China. Or like general hijinks. It's got a high level. It's got a very large portion of hijinks, shenanigan, tier of play. Super, super good. Cannot speak well enough of it. I don't even know how many times I've seen that movie. At least 30 times. Which is, yeah, that sounds about legit, because I've seen it more than once per year since it's come out. So maybe even 40. It's like way up there with Aliens and Big Trouble Little China. What's another go-to? Princess Mononoke. God, I don't even know how many times I've seen Princess Mononoke. Like for a while, I was watching Howl's Moving Castle like a 3-year-old, watching it every day. So, anyway, in transmission. There. Do. Four tentacles. Wonderful. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a Nicolas Cage movie where he was a vampire, but it was about his minion. I can't remember the name of that movie for the life of me, but Reinfeld. I think that's what it's called. That's a great film. It doesn't have the same kind of replayability that Fifth Element has, but it was fun to watch. It had many, many moments. Saw the D&D movie again, and that has good replayability. I legit laugh every time every time. I've only seen it twice now, but I very much laughed at the distraction illusions that were used to get past guards in the castle. Super freaking funny. They could if they can do the same level of quality. I don't know if that movie made any money or not, honestly. But if they cracked out another 10 of them and they were like the same sort of feeling as that first one, I would happily watch as many D&D movies as they make. Like, that is the first legitimately good Dungeons and Dragons movie I have ever seen, and that even includes the Tom Hanks Mazes and Monsters movie from like '82. That poor guy, all he wanted to do was up-level his cleric. And it cost him his sanity. Frickin' Mazes and Monsters. I haven't seen that movie in decades. It wasn't very good. Topical, though. I don't know, Mazes and Monsters big double feature for a Tom Hanks watch-a-thon. That might not be very good. but I think I don't know, maybe like watch Big, stop watching Big in the middle of it, then watch Mazes and Monsters, and then go back to watching Big. Like stop 20 minutes short of the ending of Big before he has the whole go back to being a kid again thing, but and then have him do a stint through Mazes and Monsters where he goes insane playing a D&D player. Have him get through that, the horror of realizing how many of his friends he had killed, and then go back to the rest of the Big movie so he reduces back in size to a kid so he avoids the consequences of his actions. I think that's I think there's very little potential there. The English dub of Hal. Oh my God, yes, that was a great movie. Meow, there. Yeah, Christian Bale. Who'd have thunk it? Just some guy, you know. I will say, though, Hollywood could have saved a lot of money, and instead of making a new Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, just played the old BBC miniseries in the theater, and it would have been fine. It's not like they covered any additional ground, and being that it was only like a 100-minute movie compared to, like, I want to say 10 episodes, like 10 hours worth of miniseries that the BBC produced back in like 84. It still holds up, man. That thing was fun and funny. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Sorry, I just woke up in the middle of the conversation. I don't know what we're talking about. Why am I talking about that? No idea how I transitioned into that. My bad. Sometimes when my consciousness is hopping from reality to reality, I end up in a conversation I really don't know anything about anymore. So whoever that was, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, you're doing fine, Kearney. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5. Do this one. Submerged as well. Very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 6. Like, nice. Yeah, let's do like that. Tentacles, man, they go everywhere. Got to keep your eye on those tentacles. Spider legs and insect legs. Those. You have to have a simple. You have to have a simple enough language that each appendage can read properly on its own. but you also have to have them cluster as a mass together. So like, I'm just at the precipice of getting decent at clumps of spider legs. Most of my challenge involving multiple limbs like that, I think, is making them more complicated, like each individual leg, making them more complex than they need to be. Just in general, keeping them very, very simple. A lot of cut paste to make sure that your proportions stay the same. Like thickness of legs can vary from leg to leg, and it doesn't look polished. So that's one of the challenges that I personally deal with a lot. Just feel like I've leveled up considerably in my production speed and confidence of proportion and design and composition. I feel like that really legged up this year. I'm really proud of that. I love doing these big projects because of the level up process that happens, the intensity of work after work after work, and the pressure of moving faster, like the intention of how much work has to get done. It's like this little crucible of creativity that starts to make you subconsciously break down, what am I doing here that's causing me to take more time than I need to complete a piece. I also like that I'm here, let's make sure that's the proper thickness here. This piece, this book in particular, is interesting in design because so many of the illustrations are so small. Like there's a crap ton of like 8th page, 6th page, quarter pages, not a lot of large area that needs a lot of intense detail inside of them. So it lets me kind of have this sort of like clean sketch, loose color language going on in most of the pieces that read well for the size that they are. But like if I were to upscale them, like the Scaver Knights, the Astral Cavaliers that we had produced way back, like around episodes, I want to say episode 80, maybe. That's probably that and the book cover are like the largest pieces that have been inside of this entire work. So I've successfully avoided having to do full page or half page art almost throughout the entire book, other than maps. And maps don't count. That's asset production. But I'm actually really proud of that because those really big pieces, they look great, but God, they can take 60 hours a piece, and that is insane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're almost done. Thank you, Timely Timer. I know it's coffee time, baby. Hold on. I'll get to you. Hold on. Sorry about that. It's like I'm snoozing an alarm. I just don't want to respond to it initially. My New Year's resolution to be in the gym every day after as of July 4th has been a smashing success so far. Getting in 20 minutes of cardio at 135 to 150 beats per minute on my heart, which is 20 minutes of cardio at 85% of your what is it? It's your. I want to say the metric is like double your age minus 85% is what your heart rate is supposed to be, something like that. I can't remember exactly what the ratios are, but I'm 50, so I should be for good cardio. I should be somewhere around 135 to 160 beats per minute on my heart, depending on how intense I want to go for an extended period of time, meaning at least 20 minutes. And so that has been very rewarding. My body is just absolutely loving that I've decided taking fitness serious again. I was incredibly, I mean, everyone's fit in their 20s, right? I was incredibly fit in my 20s. And because I lived in a college town without a car, so I walked everywhere, and my friends, I could put in 7 hours of 7 miles of walking a day just to kick around with people. And if it was a D&D day, I'd put about 40 pounds worth of books in a duffel bag slung over my back. Back in the day before PDFs in the early 90s, when if you wanted to know a rule, you had to have the book on hand. I'd seriously had a stack of 20 books that I would throw into a Marlboro cigarette brand duffel bag, because everyone in my house smoked so many Marlboros that we were able to pile all of our Marlboro miles together to like get decks of cards or like stainless steel 6-sided dice, and the duffel bag got within range. It's like, great, now we have something we can shove all our books into. And I was the team mule carrying books around, because none of us had a car. We had to walk everywhere. That, and then go dancing, flirt with girls after. Walk 2 miles to and from work. Walk another 2 miles to get to the techno dance club. Dance for 3 hours, and then head out again. If I had to go back home, that's another 2 miles. Otherwise, wherever it is that I would land for the night, that could be anywhere from a car to a couple miles. That was fun stuff. Loved being in that environment. I don't think my college days were my best, but I think some of the coolest stuff that's happened to me was in college. Mostly because I didn't go there to study. I just went there to fuck around. I was like, I'm willing to throw a couple tens of thousands of dollars at this endeavor for me just to get some craziness out of my system. It was totally worth. I don't think it'd be worth these days, but prices for college are a bit out of control these days. I was really fortunate because I was growing up at a time where there weren't so many applicants for each job that I wasn't eliminated from the market easily. Back when having a degree was nice, but being able to demonstrate skills was good enough. I was able to worm my way into various jobs just from recommendations and lack of options from the employer, honestly. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Last one. Yeah, I was talking about proportions. Well, this is a demonstration of me not doing it right. 3. That'll do, pig. No, I just feel like this last one is the only problem, and that's easy enough to fix. Shoop. Problems have solutions, you know. So much blood for such a tiny little hole. I couldn't believe how easy it was. I put the gun into his face. Bang! Beneath the haze of mushroom blue. Couldn't believe. That feels better. Boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. I don't know. Maybe I'm cheating. Maybe it's too repetitious. I think I'm gonna have to. Where do you go? I need to label these guys. What a mess. Trough ass. There we go. Bring this one back in. I need another wiggly one. Get rid of that one. There. Oh, see, okay, so I've got a tilt there, but the rest of it's like that. So this is actually off frame. I need to fix that. Fuck. Hold on. That's a shame. That's better. Better already. that'll help. I can afford less lines considering the distance involved. Much better. All right, cool. So that's a naughty Lloyd. Very naughty Lloyd. This is all trash. Boom. Drop it into the trash file. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. See how much I'm leaning into this picture? It's really bad. That is an example of me being a perfectionist. I do not need to be doing that. I'm happy with it. I'm just going to be happy with it. How about that? Can you just be happy? Huh? Yeah, we just try being happy, Kearney. There. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. All right, settled. Now we're gonna close up the Nautiloid for now. We're gonna come back through since all these are all the same colors. I'm gonna come back through and do that. I gotta arrange my seating. Arrange my seating arrangement. Come on, Kearney, use words, dude. That's like a decent cone of coffee. Where are we at on time? 7:30. Okay. We're about to hit our last 20-minute stretch. Back cuddle. Color. You know what? Nah, I'm going to go back to... color. This is me assessing how much time do I have left in today's session, plus where can I feel like I can make best gains for me to feel emotionally on point with where this piece is at. I could struggle for the next 20 minutes with tentacles and shapes on that cuttlefish there, or I could spend a few minutes first and coloring in this nautiloid that we just finished, so I have just the flats in, the basic flats, so that I can get a better sense of. Actually, that's the answer. I wanted to get the atmospheric atmospheric perspective resolved for the nautiloid with its. Like, I can minimize the amount of shading and highlights and color that I need on this because of how background it is in the piece. I need the colors less saturated and lightened to help push forward the cuttlefish that are disembarking, I guess. I don't know. For now, they're transparent, but we'll fix that later. Do we want to drop down through here? The colorization here good. Separation. I like it. Light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. That's how we do. I hear you. All right, that's officially our 20-minute kick. 20 minutes will put us at 7:50 here in Seattle. That'll be a good stopping point for me to get to my day job. And then, I'm here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday. In the morning, we do art like this for Spelljammer until it's done. Monday and Thursday night, including tonight, we'll do Eberron art. Right now, we're doing NPC character art illustration things. And often we do cartography, but I'm not going to do more Eberron cartography probably until next week. Like, obviously tonight, I only do it Monday and Thursday, so if I don't do it tonight, it's automatically going to be at least next week. Well, what I mean is that I want to finish out the 6 characters, the 6 NPC contacts in the adventure hook options before going back into the to finish up the maps, the little vignette maps that we have. I just want to take a mental break from it, just to keep things fresh. We still have a lot of work to do, so I have to mix it up occasionally to make sure I don't burn out. And those maps were a much more significant effort than I had initially presumed they would be. I'd never done professional, like color maps for a professional project before, and it was, well, if you check out the Eberron playlist, it's 100 episodes of map, a lot of kick-ass maps, but it was a heavy lift. I need some heavy arms. Nah, heavy arms doesn't do maps. He just does kick-ass game design. My home table, the Endless Days Adventures, they are just about to level up to level 19. They have found a rune sigil ritual magic circle thing that if they anchor to it. So the way that the Groundhog Day campaign that I run works is that there is a Groundhog Day, so they wake up in the same day every day. And right now, the default is that they wake up hungover. In the starting, they start at first level at a bar, hungover, classic adventure trope stuff. And once they realize it was a Groundhog's Day campaign, they've been waking up at that same bar hungover every day, every time they reset. A while ago, like around level 5 or 6, they found a ritual that basically it's the Druid Circle of Dreams bonfire ability, where you can set an anchor point, like you can set a reset point, and whenever you take a long rest, you can teleport to that location. I built that into a feature of the campaign that anytime they have to, it's a 40-minute ritual, but they can either create a new bonfire where they can create a save position so that when they reset, they wake up at that location where that bonfire is, or if they find one, they can bind to it so that when they reset, they go there. So they find saving points throughout the adventure at new locations and they're like, who created these bonfires? And so they've been skirmishing with other people that are also in the Groundhog's Day loop that are what we call time savvy, that they know that they're resetting. If you don't know you're time savvy, then they're just basically like a trap. They don't have awareness that you were there before. They don't know that you're going to be able to outthink them. The CR effectively becomes easier as they get, as they become more familiar with a challenge that a creature possesses. It becomes more and more like a minion. So it's easy for them to blow through it. So they've found an anchor now that is a literally time travel anchor, that if they anchor to it and they reset, they will end up they'll end up here, but they'll also end up or rather then. It'll respawn them at the morning of a different day, and so they're geeking out over being able to set because everything they've been doing, they've been behind. They can never catch up to the enemies because the amount of time that they have during the day and their positioning inside of the adventure prevents them from ever, getting a day back or getting a day ahead of the enemies. So now that they found an anchor point that can reset their timeline to wake up at an earlier day in the campaign world, they can start resolving things that they've never been able to resolve before, because by the time they respawn, regardless of where their bonfire is, when they respawn in the morning, the thing already happened that they wanted to deal with, like a town burned down, or somebody's already dead, or a creature already left its lair. Now that they can set themselves back to an earlier time, now that they're in that earlier time frame, they can start anchoring to different physical locations in the new timeline. They can't set their own timeline yet. They're at level 18 and they're about to turn level 19. They've bound themselves to an earlier timeline, but they don't know if they've successfully done it or not. All they can do is make the ability check and then decide, is that a high enough DC? Because we have inspiration points. They can accumulate a number of inspiration points equal to their proficiency modifier. And at 18th level, they have a +6 modifier, which means each character can have up to 6 inspiration points that they can hand in to reroll a skill. And we currently have 3 people in the party. So they have 18 if they get 2 per level, 1 for showing up, and like 1 person keeps a journal. Whoever's first to arrive gets a point. And then there's best idea. So between the 3 of them, they can potentially get 6 points. It's just a matter of, just one. Everyone gets 1, and then it's a matter of how many you get. But once you hit your 6 cap, you're done. So they'll stockpile them for things like this, where we know we're going to end up needing to do something, and we're going to have to hit our number. So they'll stockpile them, and like yesterday, they spent 8 bees. We call them bees because when I hand them the inspiration, they're little tokens. They're pictures of little bumblebees, because the first time they got killed and realized that dying causes them to respawn was somebody got attacked by a swarm of bees, and it poisoned them, and they died. So then they reset back at the bar. They're like, crap, we're in a time loop. So ever since, the inspiration points have been little bumblebees that I hand out. So they each have 6 bees, and once they hit their 6 max, hand off doing journals to somebody else so that they can get an extra bee that day. Or like, you make sure you're first to show up so that you can get an extra bee, that sort of thing. But the moral of the story is setting when they bond to the sigil. It's basically an arcana, like an intelligence arcana or a spellcasting check. Take your pick. We have a druid in the party, a ranger in the party, and an arcane trickster. We had a paladin, but he had to go, so we're down to just 3 crew. But so I'm sorry, I'm distracting myself from the now. Let's take this nautiloid and drop it down a little bit. Atmospheric disturbances, go. Now we can go to the... There, now we can do the back cuttlefish. But they could not roll above a 4. They spent the first die rolls with advantage because they help each other, and they had the naked die roll was like a 10 and a 14. And they're like, yeah, we can try doing better. And then they roll like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And they're like, fuck. And then the final beat that they threw, they ended up with a 16. And they decided to take that. And they ended up with a 25. And it was a plus 10 bonus to the die roll. But, it's great. They stockpile the bees. And those bees help represent, like the meta behind those bees is like you like we have days that we actually reset, like let's begin this beginning to end, but then they can also burn cycles going through things to learn patterns, like to learn when somebody shows up, or like learn like when people come and go from this building, so they can gain advantages on like stealth checks. And you can burn a bee to re-roll your skill, and that re-roll, those inspiration points, represent them going through a number of days to figure out the pattern of activity on things. So it's like, oh, we know there's a trap here, so let's disarm it. I got killed. I got killed. Now I'm accumulating these inspiration points so that I can gain advantage when I make that die roll. And a lot of those days we just narratively skip, but at any time they can just burn a number of days to learn the patterns on things, and it's like, how many times do we have to cycle? Well, you have to cycle through that like maybe 4 or 5 times. It's like, okay, great. So after 4 or 5 extra days, they can gain an inspiration point. Like they can burn an inspiration point on that task. So that's the meta narrative behind of being able to go and try things an infinite number of times. That's a really easy way to not have to play out over and over and over again. Like to narrate that day. It's like, yeah, let's just spend 5 days researching this book, or let's spend 7 days learning the guard pattern of this fortress, so that we can gain advantage on all these, like the stealth check and like the investigation check, the search check, blah 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 blah. That, by the way, curves smoothly into a flashback mechanic. There's not a lot of flashback mechanic. I like Blades in the Dark, if I understand correctly. I'm not a Blades in the Dark expert, but like a flashback mechanic that you can just ad hoc decide that, yeah, I spent a number of days doing this, like researching this this bank. So now I have the floor plan, and I know that there's a security camera here, for instance. Like that's resolved in like this flashback mechanic that Blades in the Dark has. That is so easily replicated in 5th edition using this narrative approach. It's people are like, everyone tries to make every type of game into 5th edition because they're comfortable with 5th edition. I will contest that the reason why everyone wants to make every genre of game and every cool idea from other game systems a thing for 5th edition, because 5th edition is so malleable that you can actually do it and it works. It's like this game system isn't designed for, 5e isn't designed for these heist mission sort of things. You're better off just playing a heist game. That you could do that. You could decide to not play D&D. You could decide to buy Wizards of the Coast's board game, the Dragonlance board game, to do your mass combat system, to represent a war going on that your characters aren't really doing because you've decided to stop playing 5th edition today and play a board game instead. So the outcome of that board game allows you to continue playing D&D another session. Like that's a solution. Or you could just develop decent mass combat rules for 5th edition and keep playing 5th edition D&D this session, even though we're having a mass combat war. Like, that's the point. It's like, I don't want to stop playing D&D to have this adventure. I would rather be able to play this adventure with my characters as written in D&D and keep playing D&D. It's the paradox there is that 5e is so thinly built that you have to make up all those rules to do it. So there's this manic sort of, or I guess like multiple personality disorder inside of 5e, where people want to keep playing 5e, but they don't know how to play 5e to be able to accomplish this particular type of adventure scenario. So the snarkers come out and recommend that you stop playing D&D. It's like, no, the point is that I want to have my characters have this experience in the context of the larger campaign. Like the Spelljammer book, for instance, is a great example. I don't want to stop playing D&D because I want mecha combat. Like, I guess I could staple Lancer onto my 5th edition game, but I am decidedly not playing my 5th edition character while we're playing Lancer. Why can't we just have decent mecha mechanics for actual D&D so that my actual D&D character can jump out of the mecha suit at any time and start doing D&D stuff like opening a door or whatever? That kind of leans into like what you were talking about earlier, Hanetico, that your players are ad hocing out of mecha mechanics from the mecha. It's like, why don't you just play Pathfinder if you want to get out of your mecha? It's like, because we're playing freaking Lancer. But we want to be able to accomplish something outside of the normal rules of the game system so that we can have a more fulfilling experience playing the game. So I think people just get lazy in saying, why don't you just blank? Because they haven't invested the creative energy. They don't have enough spoons available for them to hold to have a creative space that they can start projecting. Like, how would we be able to resolve a flashback mechanic in 5th edition? Like that, like I just explained that like I spend a number of days doing, researching this thing. Okay, great. Make your perception investigation checks, and depending on your level of success, I will grant you a number of inspiration die towards stealth and like timing things, for instance. Or like, I spent a week studying this guy's profile, so when I interrogate him, I can gain advantages on my insight intimidation, and persuasion checks, for instance. It's like a super easy way to do flashback mechanics like that. You just like, for instance, set like your proficiency bonus is how many days, or like how many die rolls you can affect, for instance. Super simple. Yeah, we should have the alternate mid games to have a good experience, right? But like people are like, well, you should play Blades in the Dark. It's like, no, but it's just a heist for like 4 hours. It's just a one shot. I don't want to leave my game to do this one shot. I'd rather just be able to do it. So that's where that comes from. Anyway, that's kind of a mini rant. Don't mind me. But yeah, most of the supplements that I build are kind of built around that. I want to be able to do X, but it doesn't exist inside 5e. That's arguably where most of the DM-facing third-party content comes from, is that question of how am I supposed to accomplish this? And if you create a good solution, people buy it. And then you make money. And then you start building a reputation of being able to be a problem solver and creating solutions. And then if you find other people or a company that resonates with the type of solutions that you create, then you start building a career for yourself. That's the fantasy. Or people support you enough that they're willing to buy your Kickstarter because they have enough confidence in what you've built in the past that whatever it is that you're building right now will also be cool, which is the path that I'm trying to follow. So, Bob's your uncle. And we're at, we're at 1 minute. So we're about done for the day. This is how simple these cuttlefish are. It's such a simple, here, let's pull up our reference. They're such just little organic, like avocado shaped, like avocados with tentacles is basically what these things are. Very, very simple design shapes. So it's easy for us to be able to just create these little Invid style. That's a Robotech reference if you're into Robotech. On Tuesday, we were looking at Invid and Valkyries, and looking at the everything in Robotech is basically fits within the 50-foot scale. So all the fighter craft from Star Wars, Gundam, Robotech, it all fits in that 50-foot scale that we have for this game system. So the fighter combat system we have here effectively works for virtually any mecha combat or space combat game that you could possibly want that throws a D20 behind it. So, I mean, it's specifically calibrated to 5e action economy right now. But it would not be difficult for me to, say, grab Ukulele Bard and, hey, translate this stuff into Pathfinder 2. And I'll just file off the numbers and let's release this for Starfinder and for Pathfinder 2 Infinite, for instance. I looked at the Lancer license, and it's incredibly generous. Once this book is done, I could theoretically take these basic scaling mechanics and just translate it into Lancer code, and then we can start doing Lancer combat at the 5-foot, 50-foot, 500-foot, 1 mile scale, and have super carrier ships in space, like a 6 mile carrier ship that's spitting out thousands of 50-foot fighter ships at you, and that becomes your Lancer scenario. Super easy to do. I just don't know the calibration mechanics for Lancer yet. But once I learn them, I'll be able to extrapolate everything in this book and translate it into Lancer to have a more robust environment. That's one of the things I'm thinking about doing. So yeah, I just want to get this thing published just as a proof of concept, and then from there I don't feel beholden to Wizards of the Coast about it at all. Wizards can't can't copyright mechanics. So once I have this thing built, I can go through and translate it into any number of game systems that I want, potentially leaving 5e design space altogether to go play wherever I want to play. That's me showing my cards a little bit, but that's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about for 2025. Where do I actually want to go with this stuff? I'm kind of waiting to see what 1D&D does and what licensing agreements are. And like, if I don't like where 6th edition goes, then I will probably just leave it for Kickstarters and start exploring some of these general mechanical ideas that I have and how I can express them in other game systems. Even though I love 5th edition, if Wizards stops supporting it, I mean, what else am I going to do? So the big changes are coming around. We'll see where the industry goes. I know I'm out of time. I've technically got a few more minutes, so this is where I'm at. Now I'm talking about my future again. Massive press, yeah. Even works with third-party guys on official stuff a lot. Duskgrave, Solstice Grain, Battle Group, supplements written by Theurgy. Oh, good to know. Well, maybe that's a space I will end up in. I want to finish this book first, and then we can. And then I'll take a more serious look at Lancer. One, two, three, four, five. Six. Seven. Eight. There. Cuttlefish achieved. So when we come back tomorrow, we'll fix this cuttlefish, and then we'll colorize it, and then it'll be done. I think we're going to do some foreground stuff here still. I'm still letting the overall composition brew in the back of my head. But this was a great session. I love where we're at. We're going to be back in 11 hours to work on Eberron some more. So if you thought this stuff was cool, we'll be doing this tomorrow. We're doing Eberron tonight, character art. Saturday we're going to work with building Bob Ross brushes and some of the techniques for clouds, mountains, trees, water. I think, did I say that? Mountains, trees, clouds, water, trees, hills, grass. We're just going to build out stuff, just building tools. This is going to be... I've got a week of downtime. I think I'm going to be picking up a new commission next week. So I've just got a hole in my schedule. So I decided people are interested in the Bob Ross stuff. So I'm just going to do some more of that. So, man, I've had a great time. If you guys are lurking, welcome to the mix. I'm out of here for the day. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. You can follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. If you want to tip me, you can do so at Patreon for $1 a month. That's obviously very appreciated. That's eventually where we're going to put our Bob Ross brush sets for you guys. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks a lot.